And then secondly, the expo is also like a rendezvous between the researchers and the investors who will now look at these research findings and inventions and see whether they can commercialize them. So the essence is to bring the researcher, inventor, and the investor, and then of course the regulator, to have a convalescence, to converge, kind of, and begin to show ideas how they can advance because of these findings.
What other participants are expected to be in this expo, the 4th edition? Looking at the researchers are going to form the bulk of the participants. Are there other, inventors or business partners that are expected to benefit from this R&Ds that are already available by the Nigerian researchers?
Yeah, the essence of the expo is to, provide a platform for investors who we refer to as venture capitalists, who will invest their money in research findings so that those findings can be commercialized. If they are commercialized, it will result into so many opportunities for employment generation for our younger generation. It will also result in, economic activities, that will uplift the livelihood of people around there. And then, of course, it will create a value chain that will affect positively a lot of people. So, apart from inventors and researchers that will be there, we expect that venture capitalists will be there. They will look at these findings and see where they can come in to finance or to commercialize those findings. So, apart from that, there are other stakeholders. There are scholars from outside the country. There are embassies that have shown interest. And then, of course, industries too will be there to look at what suits, their needs and how they can partner with us to advance these findings.
Looking at is likely to face challenge of participation. How do you plan for that?
Well, let me say that initially, from the concept of what used to happen in the then, since 1997, the concept is to have what we call the National Science and Technology Week, which we call NASATech, the Honourable Minister. They're now rechristening it in the process that will give enough time. It took a lot of time to plan, to invite stakeholders, to invite participants, and to sensitize people over time of the necessity for the participation, etc. So we are confident for a second and third edition. We have sufficiently developed the capacity to ensure that we reach out, to relevant stakeholders that will have enough time to come over and then use the little time we have there to network and begin to have synergy with relevant partners.
Honorable Minister of State, looking at the expected impact, how do you aggregate the benefit of expos based on the past 3 you had in Nigeria in promoting science and technology innovations, especially by attracting, expected investors into the research findings?
Okay, I think I can say that it's very impactful in the sense that you see a gradual, improvement in terms of knowledge of what we do in terms of STEM, that is in terms of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. There has been a gradual growing consciousness within the country that we are, becoming a force, especially within the African continent, as a foremost shop, for inventions. Because we've been able to see that over time, by virtue of the expositions, a lot of people have been able to liaise and synergize with the ministry, relevant beneficiaries. So I think it is impactful in the sense that synergy between inventors and investors and inventors. Then of course there is also this platform where people are beginning to, seek a partnership with the ministry, from embassies, from global science forums, etc. So we receive a number of invitations across the globe, to come and showcase what we do.
Like which specifically in terms of the impact of such requests?
In terms of, I don't understand, in terms of...
the request from the international
okay, for instance,
investors.
yes, for instance, I was invited to attend the TWAS workshop in was it in Jeddah? It is what we call the World Academy of Sciences. Now, in the letter of invitation, they said it is a recognition of our contributions to the growth of STI in Nigeria in particular and African continent. So they want us to come and share our experiences to them. And I was privileged to represent the country and try to express what we've been able to achieve in terms of STI. And they were quite impressed. So quite a number of such invitations come in handy from various countries, having seen our strides. We don't want to be too boastful, to begin to say that we have reached that level yet. No, we are not. But we have made tremendous progress in the last 3, 4, 5 years.
Then what are the impact of the ministry's interventions in research towards enhancing growth and the diversification of the economy? Nigeria's government under President Muhammad Buhari has emphasized the issue of diversification of the economy. Yeah. Where is science and technology in that?
You see, let me explain that, or say very emphatically that no country, no matter how great it is, can make any progress or any advancement in development in all ramifications without science and technology. So having understand this background, now the President Muhammad Buhari has directed that whatever we do in terms of our objectives, our mandate, we must translate that to uplifting at least 100 million people out of poverty in the next 10 years. We must participate in that process. And then two, our research findings, our inventions, our innovations must be that kind of inventions that will, generate employment activities. And then it must also be that kind of investment that will, ensure that we reduce importation of finished goods and services, in the country. So, having understood this mandate, we have been able to, for instance, churn out about 4, 5, 6 policies, to ensure that we achieve this mandate. Now we have what we call the National Methanol Fuel Production Technology. Now the essence of that is to drive Nigeria away from a monoproduct economy, so that we can diversify into different kinds of energy sources.
That's towards green energy.
Towards green energy, yeah. So that is not only about green energy, it is not only about diversification, it is also, about trying to generate employment for the people. That is upstream. The President has inaugurated the committee to start implementing that. We have also churned out what we call the National Leather and Leather Production Policy. Now, if you look at the entire leather industry, virtually all our shoes, virtually all our leather products are imported. So this policy, tends to, reduce that and ensure that we tilt towards indigenous production of goods and services in the leather industry. So this has been able to bring about a chain, of activities in terms of value chain. Now, the people who does the hide and skins are there. The people who does the fabrication, the boning, they are there. Now the people who does the rearing of the goats, and cattle.
That's the value chain.
Yes. So these are the value chain activities that created a lot of value and employment, the process of diversification. We also have what we call the National Strategy for Competitiveness in Raw Materials and Product Development in Nigeria. Now, what we try to do in that respect is that we can't be a country that has abundance of natural resources that could be a source of raw material, and then we are now importing raw materials. So we're beginning to cut that so that we can save our foreign reserve, as well as ensure that our natural resources, our raw materials, are competitive.
Then how significant is that impact in terms of reducing imports of raw materials to service the industries that are facing challenges of the raw materials to operate and power to even operate as industries?
Well, let me say that from the statistics available from the National Bureau for Statistics, the raw materials development research Council has been able to save Nigeria close to about 2 to 3 trillion naira.
Really?
Yeah. You can cross-check that. These are savings. These are otherwise ordinarily money that will have gone on capital flight, But because of that intervention, we'll be able to save that. So you can imagine with that kind of humongous amount being saved for the country, the kind of advantages we can drive in terms of having enough money to focus on other areas with challenges in terms of infrastructure, for instance. So to a large extent, we've been able to impact, positively in the Nigerian economy.
The program is in the news. We are reaching from Voice of Nigeria in Abuja. You can join us through www.von.gov.ng. You can also join us through our webcast pattern. Facebook is already live. We have Ahmed and Hamidu, Abdullahi Rima, Ojodo Olushola, Mohammed Hussein also joining. You can also join us and participate in the discussion. We are discussing science and technology, the Expo, the 4th edition that is coming up next week in Nigeria, as well as other research findings that have been making creation of certain businesses that will ensure the progression of entrepreneurial activities in Nigeria. Where is science and technology on that?
Okay, let me try to give a slight difference in terms of creation of hubs, for the benefit of some of us who are not scientists to begin to understand, the process. Now, it is, we have a lot of ICT hubs between Lagos, Ibadan, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and Kano axis. Now, these hubs are essentially focused on ICT, and they are basically under the purview of the Ministry of Communications and Digital Technology. So, we have to understand that technology, it's a wide spectrum of knowledge-based industry. We have, for instance, what we call, like I just mentioned here now, metal technology, aviation technology, nanotechnology, biotechnology, so space technology. So so what we are focusing on is not just about ICT. It's about this wide spectrum of core technology. Now, we have what we call Shader Science and Technology Center. What are they here? It is essentially to create an environment where inventors and entrepreneurs can come and have a place there and begin to, develop their inventions, for the benefit of the country and on their own business too. So they will leverage on the provision of infrastructure and other services and facilities, So we are trying to also encourage that from the policy document of the STR roadmap 2030.
Yes.
We're also focusing on establishing new hubs, or what we call technology complexes.
Where precisely? Are there any specific plans that are on
ground? Yes. There are proposals to establish in as many areas as possible, but it's still on the drawing board. However, we are also partnering with the states who have shown interest in this direction. For instance, we are partnering with Delta State government, that is developing what we call the Kwale Industrial Park. So the essence is to leverage on that also to ensure that we support them. We're going to partnership to ensure that, such entrepreneurs, get a place there and begin to see how they can do their own businesses. They should leverage on the facilities being provided there by the Delta State government, and of course in partnership with the ministry, to so that they can also be participants, in the business of, inventions and cultivating such findings into real commercial ventures.
Honorable Minister, there is this concern. When will Nigeria establish the bank to fund research and development towards the commercialization of the findings? Nigeria has been grappling with funding of research and as well as the utilization of the research development findings. Where are we? There is proposal for a bank to fund research in Nigeria. What is the position of government on that?
Okay, let me explain that. The idea of establishing a research and Development Bank. It's actually the initiative of the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology. What we did is to have concept notes, because we are worried that we have a lot of research findings that, have not been tested in the real sense, So we want a situation where lack of funds should not hinder us in terms of our development strides in STI. So we feel that we can create a one-stop shop, that could just focus on looking at researches that appear bankable and see how they can finance it, and then fund it to ensure that they reach the ultimate goal of the result we wanted to. So the concept notes have been drawn up as to how we can, establish such a bank. But establishing a bank is not an easy thing to do. There are a lot of regulatory framework that you have to comply with, and then two, there are a lot of stakeholders that you need to have their buy-in. For instance, of course, the Central Bank of Nigeria must be approached to get their buy-in. Of course, the Ministry of Finance and Budget and National Planning too will have to get their buy-in. The other relevant stakeholders in the stock market, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the capital market, etc. So we are at the stage of dissecting the concept note now to see how we can approach the regulators.
Is it likely to be out before the end of this government, 2022, 2023?
Hopefully, yes.
There's a projection
Hopefully,
towards
yes. Hopefully, yes, because we are having the support of Mr. President to do whatever we can to ensure that we develop a framework that will ensure that these findings are executed in a manner that will create jobs for our young men, in a manner that it will also create economic activities, in a manner that it will create wealth for our people. So we are very hopeful that it should be done before the government winds up.
The ministry recently announced a reward for scientific discovery that will provide cure for the pandemic coronavirus COVID-19.
Yes.
Why is Nigeria in her desire to find cure for global diseases, and the place of Professor Morris, whose findings that is aimed at finding cure for COVID-19?
Okay, let me just say that there are two agencies in the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology that people have ignored them, and people are not even aware of some of them, of their existence, and the kind of value addition they've been able to bring to bear in terms of the management of health systems in Nigeria. We have what we call the Nigerian Natural Medicine Development Agency. It's based in Lagos. Not only have they been able to study plants and leaves available, several species are available in Nigeria from each and every local government. They've been able to to understand the medicinal value of such leaves and plants across the country. They have a compendium, that is readily available, and we are working on having them, advance to the next stage. Now we also have the National Biotechnology Agency, NABDA. They focus basically on biotechnology and the regulation of GM foods.
They're motivated.
Yes, genetically modified foods. So these agencies have the capacity, to begin to work on whatever kind of element and provide solutions if given necessary support and funding. So we are working on providing such fundings. And the minister, Mr. Onu, has also directed NABDA to begin to study, this COVID-19 virus and prefer likely solutions so that we can test it. Now, in the midst of all these efforts, Professor Morris now approached us and said he has what he called a potential cure, for COVID-19.
Since 2015, he made
yes,
the
since
discovery
2015, yes,
on his,
yes. So I think what he said is that from what he discovered, that the compound exhibited significant antiviral activity against coronavirus. So he thinks that he has a cure for it. So now, as a ministry, what we did is to set up a committee to verify these claims. The chairman of the committee is the president of the Nigerian Academy of Sciences and other members from various relevant departments of government and the private sector. Now, when a person makes such claims, you don't dismiss it because it could be genuine, it could be authentic. So you set in a motion, a process of, verification. You have to you have to provide standard for such verifications. You test it in the laboratories. You do what we call, you run a test. What you call test run, and then you also, there's a process anyway.
Yeah.
So we are actually in the process of testing the veracity, of these claims.
Then how soon do we hope to have the impact? Because Nigeria has always been lagging in terms of accepting its own, research finding that is likely to win the world. We had the case of malaria, we had the case of snake bite, findings that cure for them, but not the agency that finance the research as well as the clinical tests is saying that there's no funding to even finance the production of such vaccines.
Okay, let me say that as a nation, we are attitudinally skeptical about our own efforts and our own capabilities, which is a very wrong mindset. As a nation, we must begin to encourage our people in whatever way, as long as they are beginning to address global challenges. They are beginning to provide solutions to global challenges. As a nation, we must be able to encourage this kind of people. But like I told you, like you said, the challenge we have is in our self-belief. A typical Nigerian would rather believe that a cure for coronavirus should likely come from outside the country, not from within the country, which is very, very unfair to our Nigerian scientists who are making great efforts, to achieve results. So I would just advise that we should begin to, like I said, do what we are doing in the Ministry of Science and Technology, to encourage scientists, to encourage our professionals, to be able to support their findings, to see how they can provide solutions to global and domestic challenges, whether in medicine, whether in engineering, whether in health, whether in education, whatever field. As long as the Nigerians, we should be able to encourage them. That is the only way we can develop as a nation in terms of science, technology, and innovation.
Then Nigeria and other countries of the world have started feeling the negative impact of coronavirus pandemic.
Yes.
Crude oil prices have gone down to 1991, price of $30 to $40 per barrel. Nigeria is facing it directly. What do you advise the government of Nigeria to do to be able to come out of this crisis now that already a committee has been formed by the federal government?
Yes, I think, thankfully, I think the government has been very proactive in terms of meeting this challenge. Not only has it raised the appropriate team to tackle the issues as they come headlong. If you heard what the CBN governor said yesterday, that the fundamentals, does not support, panic decisions. That as far as we are concerned, the economy is stable, and they are also making an effort to ensure that they mitigate against the effect, the global effect of the coronavirus in terms of our economy. So I will say that appropriate steps have been taken already, and we are on course to ensure that we meet these challenges.
How do you see the future of science and technology as we end this program in terms of meeting up with job creation, scientific innovation utilization in the next 5 years?
Well, the truth is that no industry will create jobs and economic activities in the next 5 years like the Ministry of Science and Technology, because we have the enabling instrument legally, we have the potential, and we have we're taking steps to ensure that those laudable ideas that we espouse, towards achieving STI, are not only put in place but they are implemented. Once they are implemented, once they are adequately funded, once the private sector key into this, we're definitely positive that we'll be able to impact on the lives of people and ensure that our young men are adequately employed in whatever field, in terms of manufacturing field, mineral extraction field, educational and scientific research areas, etc. So we're hopeful that we'll be a great vehicle for employment.
Listeners, that's why we end the program in the news. Comes to you from Voice of Nigeria in Abuja. You can join us through www.von.gov.ng.